What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as Ridemyavatar, and today we're going to go over 5 decks of each color that are going to be really meta defining. I mean, hybrids really definitely take a lot of the slots this time around because the playstyle actually changes up to a more slower pace, but a more consistent rate. So without further ado, let's dive into the video and talk about it. So let's talk about the first color, and that is going to be red. Red got a very interesting build that made more consistent with its ancient Greymon. So with the combination of Flamemon from BT-7 that gives all your 10 hybrids and 10 warriors, your hybrids and your 10 warriors all piercing. So being able to give piercing to your ancient Greymon, who gains more security checks as the more hybrids it has, the scarier this becomes. So even just having a proper line, you can swing in for 14 very easily with ancient Greymon, and then with the pierce, with the warp of Agunimon, because you can actually hold this out in raising similar to how Jessamon would play. And yes, Jessamon is very viable this format, but I think the hybrids offer a more consistent way of playing, that Jessamon still has a little brick left in him, that until it gets its Chimeramon and BT-8, that it won't matter the slightest. People will probably tend to go to ancient Greymon / Emperor Greymon for this reason. So being able to warp, get 3 security checks, and then it dies, and if you have an analog youth out because you pass turn somehow, it would trigger returning it back to you or back to 0 if you just get them to go to 1. So while ancient Greymon is swinging, it has to proceed its damage checks. So this requires 2 costs, so you're going to choke out, rest the analog youth once ancient Greymon swings and kills and then plays a tamer. Then you can hatch the free egg with analog youth, gain 1 memory, go to 0, and then build up a board state and allow you to win. Being able to get 3 checks in 1 turn is huge, and then having Emperor Greymon, who can be warped in through Takuya through all the resources that you're losing with your ancient Greymon, really nasty combination. And then you'll just put Aldermon underneath it just for those extra security checks. Shutting off options is huge because now it's 1 halfway through. But what's really nasty is the Atomic Inferno. So if before, let's say you have tie out, you're going to set yourself to 3 anyway. So what you're going to do is pull the Aguni up, use an Atomic Inferno at least twice, so it'll bring you down to 1. Then you're going to then warp in with Agunimon while you have 1 analog youth out, and then swing in for 5 security checks. Boom, it's all gone. Now analog youth brings you back to 0. You can spam either Gravity Crush or Red Memory Boost, and then Digivolve on top of the tie for an Agunimon for game. Very consistent, nasty deck, and it has a decent amount of searchers through this Flamedramon being able to search for hybrids and or red tamers. Then you also have this Flamemon who is searching for hybrids, Susano or Takuya, among them added to your hand. Then you have Pokemon trying to find tamers, actually hybrids and a tamer, so or 10 warriors. So you have enough searchers in this deck that it makes it consistent. What makes it really nasty is being able to Digivolve on top of your Digimon. Red uses a really nice resource management because all their stuff in trash is just secondary use, because Takuya will bring it all back to warp into its Emperor Greymon from hand. So keep this in mind, especially with it having Blitz. It comes really nasty very quickly. And you can use Atomic Inferno on it because technically it is a hybrid. So just keep that in mind. Just that's how the deck is going to play. It's going to be very OTK. Blue Stun is still going to be very viable in this format. Being able to remove sources from Digimon is really nasty for blue, and it's going to continue being nasty. You got Upamons for days. You got Strabimons searching for hybrids and tamers, so you have enough targets to make this really extremely viable. Mandoke Betamon to negate any spamming with the memory boosters and stuff like that. Shutting them down is really huge this format. Surabimon is if this Digimon has a hybrid in its form or 10 warrior in its typing, gain 1 memory. Then we have another Surabimon. Reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Add 1 hybrid in straight Suzanomon or Koji among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards. We're just looking for hybrids and Suzanomon, so keep that in mind. Bokomon is doing the same thing, looking for our hybrids, a tamer, or 10 warriors. Then we have Kumamon being able, you may trash this card from your hand onto, you may digivolve 1 of your cards from your hand onto 1 of your blue tamers, and the tamer is a level 3 Digimon, blue Digimon. Reveal, when digivolving, trash 1 Digievolution card from the bottom of your opponent's deck. So, I don't know if 60 win percent rate is going to work in this deck, but if it can, what will happen is Mega Fusion gets replaced by that in this list. But right now we're going to use Magna Garurumon as a way of stepping into Suzanomon, because it's still, if we can digivolve all the way up, start removing sources, we can start bouncing stuff back to hand, and he's still a great multi-attacker. The reason why this deck is so nasty is because Tommy allows trashing sources, and then when attacking, when your opponent's Digimon with no Digievolutions can't attack or block until the end of opponent's next turn. And what's nasty is you combo with Korikakumon, which does the same thing. When digivolving, if you have a hybrid or tamer Tommy and one of your opponent's Digimon with no sources can't attack or block until the phase. So making it so that multiple attackers are getting slowly negated. The reason why Ice Wall was very nasty in this format was because you had access to 4 Ice Walls shutting down your opponent, and then you had Mega Digimon Fusion waiting on the back burner, ready to evolve your tamer into its next stage of Suzanomon. So being able to then swing in for 3 security checks by returning all these tamers you had access after you get the main board state, Suzanomon for free, well, 1 cost, is huge in the matchup, because now they have to answer him with everybody kind of deterring away from removal options this format to a more consistent kill strategy with Suzanomon being able to check 3. Keep that in mind. That's just what kind of happened. Everybody's slowly moved off of that, and this deck really shines really well, especially because Sora Joe, if your opponent has no Digievolutions in play with no sources, can play gain 2 memory. Analog Youth, if you lose your Digimon, congratulations, you're going to then pass it back to you, but this helps mill and filter. So it just really powerful cards that just help you be able to stun lock your opponent, locking them down from being able to attack or block. So you may return 1, and Beowulfmon is you may return 1 Digimon card with hybrid in its form from the Digimon's Digievolution cards to add to your hand to return 1 of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon to its own hand. And like I said, Magna Garurumon multi-attacker and doing the same thing with like Beowulf, but being able to pop mostly everything back. Howling Memory Boost to give you extra memory, but also to prevent your opponent from attacking or blocking. Ice Wall is to hope for the living gods that you use this on the right turn. So I guess all in all, Blue Stun might see a little bit of downing play, but it should be fine with this set. Shine Greymon definitely comes in heavy swing in this set. I'm not joking. The reason why is it has a bunch of decent tamers. It plays a more, my Digimon are going to be way bigger than yours kind of strategy. So if you have Zoe, you get to search and dig. TK, search and dig. This one, they both recover you something as long as you don't grab a Bokomon or your, Boulder Arm. That's going to be huge. And then Shine Greymon's just going to keep counting the number of tamers you have. So as long as you Digivolve at the right time, you could definitely Digivolve into Kazimon after playing the Patamon, who's going to reveal the top 4 and add all yellow tamers. If that was all yellow tamers, they all come to hand. Then you'll Digivolve up to a Kazimon or a Zerafimon, who is when Digivolving if you have a hybrid in its trace, or Zoe and its Digievolution cards. All your security Digimon get +3 until the end of opponent's next turn. Make them very nasty. It's just making it harder and harder for your opponent to swing into your security successfully without losing their board presence is a huge mistake. Then you have Rise Greymon, so you may play 1 yellow tamer from your hand without paying its memory cost. all on plays do not activate, so their Zoe and TK do not activate. But, you know, it's just there to set up board state. Shine Greymon, rest all Tamers, and then just pretty much minus 4,000 for every rested Tamer that you rested for when Digivolving is huge in this list. And then this Digimon gets plus 1,000 DP for each Tamer you have in play, so he gets bigger and beefier as the time goes on. Blinding Ray, just trash something you don't need. Reinforced Memory Boost is still good even at 1. It's just going to be placing the top of your security face down, adding 1 card to hand for a 6 cost, then it becomes a 3 cost, basically replenished. So keep that in mind. Just all in all, really great support the set. And then you have Jet Sylphie being able to Digivolve on top of a Tamer, but also if you have a hybrid, instantly recovery 1. This is Volder Arm just to remove threats off board. Upamon, so if your security's at 3 or less, draw 1. Just all in all, you're going to be probably playing around that 3 mark anyway, and just go off from there. Then your TK is giving all your extra security Digimon bigger and beefier, so when they swing in, they're losing out on possibly their Digimon every time they hit your smaller guys that are now extremely large. Now we're going to talk about it. Ancient Beetlemon, Ancient Troymon is probably Green's bread and butter this set. And what I mean by that is, all in all, they got a consistency boost with their JPs. Ancient Troymon can lock things down that aren't blockers, so everybody kind of slowly moves off blocker anyway. And then Ancient Beetlemon is there just so that if when you're starting to swing into the rested Digimon, because you use this card here, this card is huge. Thunder Laser, if you have a Digimon with hybrid or 10 warriors in a straight play, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon for 1 cost. That's huge. But what really sets this deck a little bit stronger is the Argomon here. So Digisorption 2, he comes in for 2, but suspend all your opponent's Tamers, and all your opponent's Tamers cannot unsuspend. So if they want to try to OTK you and they're building up on Tamer board, this Argomon just shuts them down pretty quickly, and it just makes it so it's very difficult to win games because all their Tamers are resting. And then you have Ancient Troymon backing him up, making it so if they're going to try to swing into him, they're going to swing into him, remove him, but their whole board state's going to be rested at that point. So they're not going to have the way they want to go. And you have Ancient Beetlemon being, well, one of your Digimon with 10 warriors and is typing. As I mentioned, if you delete one of their Digimon, instantly trash a card. So you're taking out a lot of security very easily in this deck. JP, as I mentioned, also has when the same Digivolves into a green Digimon, reduce the memory cost by Digievolution 1. So if you Digivolve into these hybrids, which also have the ability to either, you know, if when Digivolving, if you have a hybrid in straight or JP, is in its Digievolution, suspend one of your opponent's level 6,000 DP Digimon. Then you have Beetlemon, so reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, add 1 hybrid in straight and 1 JP among them, place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. Really nice. We have a couple blockers in here just to help out, keep your board state strong. Then you also have Rhino Kabuterimon. If you have a hybrid or insectoids in straight, this Digimon can Digivolve into a Digimon with Insectoid or 10 Warrior in straight from your hand for a memory cost 3. Being able to warp into Ancient Troy or Ancient Beetlemon, swinging into their Digimon, remove them, triggers abilities, and goes nasty. Hidden Potential is just still nasty in the set. Being able to Digivolve practically nothing for free is really huge. And Green Memory Boost is just for the delay, just to add cards. Terriermon Assistant is to combo in with the Yokomon, so you Digiburst, give it a little extra power, 3k, but it also gets to add it to your hand or not. So keep that in mind, we're just going to be doing that. Betamons are Searcher as well, add 1 level 4 Digimon or a Green Tamer among them to your hand. On its on play, really nice. And Tentomon is to also make it so when we are either warping or anything like that, this can be for cost of 3, so this now becomes a cost of 2, and that might keep it our turn, which is better. Palmon is to spend one of your opponent's Digimon with 5,000 DP with its on deletion, so that means if they have, we're going to swing in with Palmon, hope it dies with its 1,000 DP. Now we're going to rest their Tamer or, you know, rest their hybrid they have out on board, so we can swing in with a Rhino, make an Ancient Beetlemon with Pierce that we hopefully have with JP. Mimi's just still nasty as always. just an all in all nasty little deck that your opponent's gonna have to play. I gotta watch out for this. Next, we have Alphamon Duragurumon X Antibody Relay. The deck is very interesting. It's gonna hold well in this format, I think, but I feel like this is a very toss up with black. This format, it's gonna either be Dark Commandramon, or it's gonna be this deck for black. I think both decks are very competitively viable. They both are really extremely well. I think I'll explain more into Dark Commandramon afterwards, but we're gonna be talking about this deck real quick. Mega Dramons for the blockers, so that your Alphamon can block and be very powerful. But Duragurumon's really nasty. For each X Antibody and its traits, Digi Evolution cards, this Digimon gets plus 1000 BP. And once returned, you may place one card with X Antibody trait from your hand at the bottom of this Digi Evolution card. Complete up to 2 of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost less than or equal to this Digimon's Digi Evolutions cards. So really nasty, because if you put himself, Alphamon, underneath, you're going to be popping 2 Megas, and that's going to be really a game changer. Sazorimon is making all your 13,000s have Pierce, so if they do have blockers, it doesn't matter. But what's really nasty, Sanzori does, while this Digimon is black and has 3000 BP or more, this Digimon gets plus security plus 1. You can also have it gain extra with Greymon and Voltronmon, so being able to swing out and throw out your opponent. But here's really nasty is, so yellow hybrid is still a major threat in this game, but making it so that your opponent can't reduce the DP, return it to hand or deck at the end of your opponent's next turn. Really nasty Breath of the Gods. Kind of gets a little more consistent, but if it's revealed in security, they can't kill you, which is nastier. Zomborg Punch makes it so you have blocker, reboot, and swing for extra security, because it's just going to bring it up to 16 and just clear out. Then you have Iron Fist Onslaught being Iron Fist Onslaught, clearing out threats. Then we have Metal Cannon, which choose one of your Digimon with X Antibody and trait and draw 1 card for each Digi Evolution in that card. So if you have Duragurumon out, and it has like 4 sources already in it that have hybrid, use this, and boom, you're drawing 4 cards out of it. That's nasty. You're getting more card advantage that black has not had in a while. Kota is really nice because reveal the top 4 of your deck, add 1 Digimon with X Antibody among them to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. Then we have Tai making our blockers bigger, which we're going to use Megidramon, Mechanori to get bigger, just so that we have preventable ways. Grumblemon is really nasty because being able to Digivolve on top of those useless tamers that have been just sitting there for a while is really good for us. Chumon is just your opponent can't gain memory except with effects. Choi Agumon is just having reboot, makes it really nasty because sometimes you need to swing into the opponent's Digimon, and the likelihood of that gets slimmer and slimmer if they have reboot. Doraemon is when one of your effects places a Digimon card from card under this Digimon, draw a card. So since we are going to be using Duragurumon, and Duroromon, so they're all effects that are just going to be helping us end game. So play your turn once per turn. When you place a card under this Digimon as Digi Evolution, gain 1 memory. Then you have this one, while this Digimon has X Antibody and trait, and then while you have another Digimon in play with X Antibody trait, or a card with X Antibody trait, blocker. Just all in all, really nasty support. And then you have this one, Digivolving, put 1 black X Antibody and type from your hand at the bottom of this Digi Evolution card. If you do this, Digimon can't be deleted by opponent's effect, and its DP cannot be reduced until the end of the turn. He has a self-built-in protection wall, which really makes it very nasty. So it's a very viable deck. And then we also have Commandramons under radar. I think this is going to be one of the most nastiest versions of Commandramon yet, because Commandramon is a very self-contained 16-card engine, but Skull Knightmon is a 12-card engine self-contained, that if, let's say, you have Skull Knightmon, when attacking, trash all Digimon cards from one of your Deadly Axe Bond that if you just played, that reveal 5 cards from the top of your deck, add up to 2 Digimon with Knightmon and their names among them to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck. So what's going to be really nasty is this play here. So Pride Memory Boost, reveal top 3, you may play a black Digimon with a play cost 4 or less among them, trash remaining cards, and place this card in the battle area. Game have delay 2. So let's say you have 2 Commandramon, 1 Deadly Axemon. You're going to take Deadly Axemon, play it down. It's going to search. It's going to hopefully grab Skull Knightmon and a Dark Knightmon so that you're prepared for the follow-up turn while you have a Commandramon in raising. Now you're just setting up for wins because now you're going to promote next turn Digivolve into Skull Knightmon. As long as they gave you 2, it'll still be your turn. You can now swing in. It's going to now go into Dark Knightmon for free. And if Dark Knightmon dies, instantly play Deadly Axemon and then play Skull Knightmon, allowing Deadly Axemon to reactivate his effect, reveal top 5 of the deck, add up to 2 Digimon with Knightmon in their names among them, place the remaining cards on the deck. So as long as you keep grabbing cards, you're going to be filtering your deck. Eventually you'll know your stack, and then you're just going to go all out on your opponent. You're not going to have the answers for you. And what's nasty is we finally have use for our tamers because we have Grumblemon. Grumblemon is huge for us. Keep that in mind. And now let's talk about Purple's bread and butter. Lilith Loop is still competitively viable. I don't think this deck is going anywhere. They gained a lot of new support, new rush support with Ultimate Sacrifice, making it so that if you have Cerberusmon here, then your Cerberus Werewolf mold is just going to be gaining you 9 memory. You're going to gain 1 memory for the Ultimate Sacrifice, making it really harder for your opponent to kill you. I mean, Lilith Loop got nasty. To be honest with you, it just got everything it needed. Chimeramon, just the start to kill off the scatter mode. If it's not dying, you can just Chimera, pop the scatter mode, discard 2 Eismon, play 2 Eismons out of trash. You'll have a Chimeramon and 2 Eismons on board. Your opponent is not going to handle the board state that you are going to be putting out on them. So Work Defeats is still going to loop. Lilithmon still has the ability with Jack Raid. And then you also have Calling from Darkness to delete one of your Digimon to then return 2 purple Digimon cards from trash to your hand, which can just be Eismon, pop it, grab the 2 eyes, scatter mode, pop, add Eismon first, then draw 2, then discard the 2 eyes, draw 3, discard the Eismon, and then boom, they're out on the board again. So it's going to be really nasty because this is looped in with Lilith Loop because you'll be adding Call of Darkness with Jack Raids. Analog Youth is still nasty because it fuels the graveyard. 60% win rate is still nasty because even though it's going to cost you 4 to Digivolve into Zord Defeat for less cost, it really doesn't matter because this becomes free because Lilithmon just says, I'm going to pay it for 0 and you're going to just only pay 2. So keep that in mind. It's just a lot of nasty support happened in the set. And we're just having repercussions for your opponent having to deal with this. And Nidhogg is a really nasty card. When you trash the card from your hand using one of your effects, gain 1 memory. You may trash 1 card in the Digimon's hand. When Digivolving, you may trash 1 card in your hand to delete one of your opponent's 4 lower Digimon. So it's just really nasty all in all. Tsusuri Demon is going to help us gain memory. Gazimon shuts down opponents gain memory. Gabumon's just there to draw and discard for when it's deleted. And then you have the same thing with Chimera. So just building up for the Eismon scattered mode, then you're going to draw like 10 cards in 1 turn. You draw 1 here, 1, 2, 3, then 5 cards with just 1 stack if you just pop it. That's huge, and it's going to show up real quick. And then your opponent's still just going to be dealing with Loop. Loop just got really good support in the sense, even though it lost Mega Digivolve Fusion, it's still really nasty. So guys, what do you think of the 5 the color decks I picked of their best colors? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace!